Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation on Android. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying that with RPCS3. And RPCS3 just got a brand new update, and they've also got a brand new Discord. So at the time of filming, RPCS3 Android Alpha 3 is the latest release, and the developers seem to be very active on this one. And it does seem that progress is being made in terms of overall compatibility and performance. I mean, this person's got Scott Pilgrim vs. the World up and running, and this person here says they've got Galaga Legends DX running perfectly on a Retroid Pocket 5 using RPCS3 Android Alpha 3. And speaking about 3, next up here we're talking about the Legend of Dragoon Severed Chains, and version 3.0 public beta has been released and they are looking for testers. For those who may be unaware, this is a PC port of the game and all of the information is right on their website. If you are curious about this one, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below at the bottom if you wanted to learn more about it. And speaking about learning about stuff, next up we're talking about disc rot. And there's a brand new article over on Ars Technica titled They Curdle Like Milk. Warner Brother DVDs from 2006 to 2008 are rotting away in their cases. They state here that ideally, if DVDs are taken care of properly, they should last for up to 30 to 100 years, and maybe even longer, who knows. Anyways, here it does seem that there's a specific issue between 2006 and 2008 with Warner Brothers DVDs, and they are aware of it. And it does seem they are trying to make amends if people contact them. I mean, they say right here, Warner Brothers Home Entertainment is aware of potential issues affecting select DVD titles manufactured between 2006 and 2008, and the company has been actively working with consumers to replace defective discs. Where possible, the defective discs have been replaced with the same title. However, as some of the affected titles are no longer in print or the rights have expired, consumers have been offered an exchange for a title of like value. And that to me could be basically any title. Now, if you're a gaming collector, you probably are well aware of disc rot. And if you're not, you may want to read up on it and learn about it because it is a serious thing. And if you've got some old PS1 games or Sega Saturn games, or I guess even PS2 games now, Xbox 360, all of the games, you may want to make sure that you're taking care of those games and monitoring them, because it does appear that disc rot is a very real thing and, well, can destroy discs. Now, it is worth noting that there's quite a divide on disc rot overall. Some people are saying it's a big problem, and, well, a lot of people are saying it's just blown out of proportion. And I would say it's probably going to become more evident as time goes on, like anything. I mean, if you take a look at the Sega Saturn that was released, like 30 years ago, if a disc lasts between 30 to 100 years, it may still have something like 70 years left in its life cycle, or it may not. I think a lot of this will come down to how those discs are stored and cared for. But we'll have to wait and see on that. If you've had a problem with disc rot, let people know about it in the comments below. And speaking about problems or not problems and a divide on opinions, next up here we're talking about Diablo IV. Some people have said the game is too hard. A lot of people have said the game is too easy. And the developers of Diablo IV have said that the game is too easy and it will be getting more difficult with a future update. It seems as if players are tearing through the content too quickly and leveling up too quickly, and from my understanding here in Season 8, it's going to take people longer to level up from 1 to 60. Item drops are going to be a little bit more rare and things will get more difficult, like boss fights. If you are a Diablo fan and wanted to learn more about this and even more, they explain all of this in a ton of detail over on their campfire chat. The campfire chat is around 2 hours, but there's like a 30-minute intro, give or take. Anyways, here, this is very surprising, and I think it will be polarizing in the Diablo community. The casual gamers or the people who don't play it very often may be frustrated with it, and the seasoned veterans who like a huge challenge may really like this one. Who knows here, as I get older and don't play games as thorough as I used to, I tend to like easier games, but I mean, at the same time here, having some difficulty is also a lot of fun. If you play Diablo a lot, you can probably get through the game fairly easily, and I mean, with more experience comes, well, easier games. However, it is worth noting here, it's worth pointing out that the definition of easy may vary from person to person. I mean, my definition of easy might not match up with someone else's. Anyways, here over on Steam, Diablo 4 has a mostly positive review score. and I'm curious to see what Season 8 will bring with the review score overall, if it improves it or if it decreases it. But moving on and getting away from the whole can of worms as to what constitutes easy and not, next up here we're talking about ClownMDEmu, which is a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive emulator, and ClownMDEmu just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 1.2 is the latest update, and there's quite a few fixes and improvements. They've greatly improved the low pass filter. They say it improves the volume balance of all games. Additionally here, they say they've mostly fixed the music tempo in Earthworm Jim. They've greatly improved the music tempo in Earthworm Jim 2. And they've added support for cartridge bank switching, which is used by Titan Overdrive 2 and Super Street Fighter 2. Next up, we're talking about some Linux stuff, specifically Garuda Linux. And they say here it's your favorite Linux distribution, providing opinionated settings that make the Arch Linux base easy to use. And Garuda just got a brand new update. So this new release is called Broadwing, and they say we're incredibly excited to unveil a new wave of updates to Garuda Linux, a testament to our commitment to delivering a powerful, beautiful, and user-centric experience. This release isn't just a collection of fixes, it's a harmonious blend of enhancements, refinements, and new beginnings, designed to elevate your computing journey. So one of the big things here is the introduction of RANI. RANI stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Reliable Assistant for Native Installations, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. Anyways, they say it's a brand new application designed to streamline and enhance your Garuda Linux experience. They've also introduced Garuda Mocha, which is their customized theme for KDE Plasma. On top of that, there's even more stuff here. There's quite a bit in this update. Garuda is powered, this latest version of Garuda is powered by Linux kernel 6.13. And you don't have to get it in KDE Plasma. You can get it in stuff like GNOME and even more. And speaking about stuff that stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and I guess Linux stuff, next up here we're talking about Wine, which stands for Wine is not an emulator. Anyways, here Wine just got a development update to version 10.3, and there's quite a few impressive things here. So as for what's new here, there's now clipboard support in the Wayland driver. They've added initial Vulkan video decoder support in Wine D3D. And there's been more progress on the Bluetooth driver. This is a great update for Wine. And speaking about D3D, next up here we're talking about X3D, completely different. Anyways, here AMD has announced pricing for the Ryzen 9 99500 X3D and the 9900 X3D. And they're priced at $699 and $599 respectively. And they are launching on March 12th, which is just in a few days. They are calling the 9950 X3D the world's best processor for games and creators, and I'm very curious to see what happens with real-world testing with a lot of people once these things are dropped, provided a lot of people buy them. The 9950 X3D has 16 cores and 32 threads with a TDP of 170 watts. The 9900 X3D has 12 cores and 24 threads with a TDP of 120 watts. Next up, we're talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and if you're a fan of this game, but you're not a fan of DRM, it turns out that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is headed to GOG on March 28th. Now, admittedly, I have not played this game yet, but I would say that this is a pretty big win in the DRM free space. Right now, this game on Steam has a very positive review score. Next up, we're talking about Fairphone, and it seems that Fairphone has a couple of pretty big blunders in terms of data privacy for their beta testers. So Android Headlines is reporting that Fairphone had a misconfigured form on their forum, which resulted in a data breach for 24 beta testers. Furthermore, when they tried to mitigate the system, it's being reported that they sent a reply all to basically everybody exposing their emails. That is a huge blunder, and I'm wondering why they did that in the first place. In my opinion, the Fairphone is an interesting phone overall. They do say it's built on open source tech. The performance of this seems to be a little bit worse than something like a Google Pixel 7. And it does have a Qualcomm CPU with an Adreno GPU in it, and they sell a de-Googled version of the phone. And speaking about interesting things, next up we're quickly talking about Reddit. If you use Reddit and you like to upvote controversial things, namely violent content, it seems if you upvote enough of it in a short period of time, Reddit will start issuing warnings. It seems that it's warn only at this point in time, so there's no more further actions on that one. But at the same time here, I'm curious to see what happens next. Unfortunately, I don't know what any further actions will be, but they say they will consider adding additional actions down the road. I'm assuming that maybe a temporary ban or a timeout, or maybe the inability to upvote something. I've got no idea here, but if you are getting warnings from Reddit, it's probably because you're upvoting violent content. And speaking about violent content, next up we're talking about Robocop. And I'm wondering if someone upvotes a Robocop post on Reddit and it's flagged as violent content, if they'll get a warning. Anyways here, that's probably an issue for another day. Robocop Rogue City Unfinished Business has just received a reveal trailer over on YouTube. This game is set to release summer of 2025, so just in a number of months now, and I think a lot of people may be excited about this one. The combat on this one looks pretty clean. And speaking about combat, last up here we're talking about Battlefield. And if you're interested in Battlefield and wanted to see what the upcoming game's combat looks like, well, there's playtest leaks that have been posted online with a whole lot of images and video. It is worth mentioning, though, that this is pre-alpha gameplay, so some assets may be missing and the final product may look nothing like this. But it might give you an idea of what they're currently working with. If you are curious about this one, MP First has you covered, and like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state, and I'll see you tomorrow.